Welcome to Midnight Terrors, where spine-chilling tales come to life. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications. You don't want to miss a single story that'll keep you up at night. We're on a mission to grow, and your support is everything. Share these terrifying stories with your friends, family, and anyone who dares to listen. Thanks for being part of the journey. Let's begin. Story number 1, The Curse of the Village Chief. In a quiet, forgotten village surrounded by dense, whispering forests, two brothers Adisa and Kamal lived side by side. Kamal the elder was wise, wealthy, and beloved by all. His leadership brought prosperity to the village, and his generosity was legendary. Adisa, younger and restless, seethed with jealousy. Every praise for Kamal was a dagger to his pride. One moonless night, the air heavy with silence, Adisa crept into Kamal's home. The faint glow of a dying fire flickered across his twisted face. As Kamal lay asleep, Adisa's hands clamped around his throat. Kamal's eyes shot open, his lips moving as though to utter something, but no words came, only a final rasping breath. As Kamal's lifeless body fell, Adisa leaned in close and whispered, "Now, the village will be mine." Kamal's funeral was hurried and somber, the chants of mourning blending with the rising wind that whipped through the village like a warning. The villagers stood in silence, their eyes darting toward the darkening sky as though the heavens themselves grieved. Even as the earth closed over Kamal's grave, the air grew heavier, charged with a sense of unease that clung to their skin. Days later, Adisa, wearing his brother's ceremonial cloak, claimed the title of village chief. At first, his ambition seemed justified. He held feasts, showered promises of prosperity, and smiled like a man who believed he had won. But beneath the surface, the village began to unravel. The change came subtly at first, an acrid smell in the air, crops wilting under the sun though the soil was wet with rain. Then the transformation quickened. Fields turned barren, as if scorched by a phantom fire. Corn husks rotted on their stalks, and yam roots oozed black liquid. Cattle wandered aimlessly, only to collapse with bloated bellies and lifeless eyes, staring as if they had seen something unspeakable. In the homes, whispers of sickness crept like a plague. Children fell into fevered sleep, their small voices calling out Kamal's name in fits of delirium. "He's watching," they moaned, their pale faces slick with sweat. Mothers wept over them, but no medicine or prayers could drive the illness away. As night fell, the village's fear deepened. Strange sounds echoed through the darkness, low, rhythmic drumming, its beat pulsing through the ground like a heartbeat. Villagers searched for the source, carrying torches into the forest, but the drums always seemed to retreat further into the shadows. Some swore they saw shapes moving between the trees, figures that walked too smoothly, too silently to be human. Adisa's once proud face grew gaunt, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. His house grew cold, no fire able to warm the rooms. Servants whispered that they heard footsteps in the halls at night, and a voice, Kamal's voice, calling Adisa's name. The villagers began to avoid him. When Adisa approached, they averted their gaze, muttering prayers beneath their breath. "Kamal's spirit walks among us," they whispered, their voices trembling. "He seeks justice." Adisa tried to silence the rumors, but the signs only worsened. One night, he awoke to a pounding at his door, though no one was there. As he turned back, he froze. Written across the wall in ash were the words, "Your hands are stained." The next morning, a villager discovered Kamal's grave disturbed, the soil clawed open as if something had emerged. From that day forward, no one in the village could deny it. Kamal had returned, and his vengeance was just beginning. At home, Adisa's troubles grew darker, gnawing at the edges of his sanity. His wife, once vibrant and full of life, withered before his eyes. She lay on the mat, her skin pale and stretched thin, her breath a faint whisper in the suffocating silence. No herbs, no chants, and no healer's touch could soothe the invisible sickness that seemed to drain her soul day by day. Then came the screams. Every night Adisa's son, Tai, jolted awake, his cries sharp as a knife cutting through the stillness. "He's here, father," Tai wailed, his small body trembling. "Uncle Kamal is in the room. He's watching me." Adisa rushed into the boy's chamber, his torch sputtering against the chill that gripped the air. The room seemed normal at first glance, but as he looked closer, the shadows twisted, long, claw-like shapes reaching across the walls. They moved unnaturally, even though the flames were still. The cold deepened. A whisper, a voice low and strained, curled through the silence. "You see me now, brother." Adisa's heart thundered in his chest. He called out to his son, but Tai sat frozen, his wide eyes fixed on the darkest corner of the room where the shadows seemed to gather, swirling like smoke. Adisa stepped closer, but a bone-chilling wind extinguished his torch. The darkness swallowed everything. That night, Adisa didn't sleep, and neither did the shadows. The next week, Adisa woke to the sound of scratching, deep, rhythmic clawing against wood. He followed the noise to Tai's room. The boy was gone. The window was wide open, cold air whistling through. Panicked, Adisa ran into the forest, screaming his son's name. He found Tai beneath the ancient sacred tree, his lifeless body curled at the roots. The bark of the tree oozed black sap, and etched into its trunk were the words, "You took my life. Now I take your blood." As Adisa fell to his knees, Kamau's voice rose from the darkness around him. It was a guttural whisper that seemed to come from the ground itself. "This is only the beginning. You will lose all you love. You will live in torment forever." Adisa ran back to the village, his mind unraveling. That night, villagers heard screams from his home, agonizing, wretched cries that went on until dawn. When they finally dared enter, Adisa was gone. Only his blood remained, smeared in frantic handprints across the walls, as though he had tried to claw his way out of his fate. The village, though cursed, finally began to heal. The sacred tree grew stronger, its roots spreading, and at its base, a new whisper joined the wind. Kamau's voice, eternally watching, ensuring no man would dare rise against the balance of the village again. Quick pause. Help spread the word. A simple recommendation from you to a friend helps us reach more people and lets us keep creating content you love. Thanks for being part of this journey. Story number 2, The Echoes of the Price. 10 years ago, on a stormy moonless night, Ada trudged through the tangled woods, her lantern barely illuminating the path. The ancient cottage loomed ahead, its rotting wood creaking like whispered warnings. She pushed the door open, and there, in the shadows, the hooded figure waited. Candles flickered unnaturally, as if the air itself feared to breathe. Desperation was carved into every inch of Ada's face. Years of hunger gnawed at her, of singing to empty taverns, of watching others rise while her talent withered in darkness. "Wealth and fame," she whispered, her voice trembling like the flames. "I'll do anything." The figure's voice resonated as though it came from beneath the earth. "The price is blood, your sister's mind for your desires." Ada recoiled. There must be another way. The figure's hollow laughter froze her spine. "There is always a price, girl, and yours must be paid in full." A dagger materialized in its hands, its blade rusted, its hilt warm, as though it had been drinking blood for centuries. That night, Ada stood over Ilara, her younger sister who trusted her with blind innocence. Ilara lay in bed, her breathing soft, her hands clutching a stuffed rabbit from childhood. Ada's hands shook as tears slipped down her cheeks. "I'm sorry. Forgive me." The blade cut shallowly into Ilara's palm. For a heartbeat, there was silence, then a jolt. Ilara's eyes flew open, her scream splintered the night air like glass. Her body convulsed, eyes rolling back as though unseen hands dragged her soul from her. Ada turned away, bile rising in her throat, but it was done. The next morning, everything changed. Ada awoke to telegrams, producers knocking on her door, and neighbors whispering her name in awe. Within weeks, her songs filled theaters, her face appeared on gilded posters. Gold, fame, admiration, all she had wanted, wrapped her like a cloak. But Ilara was never the same. Her mind cracked like old porcelain. She was found wandering barefoot near the woods, mumbling riddles no one could understand. At night, she screamed about whispers in the walls and hands that pull. Locked in a hospital room, she spoke only to shadows, her once bright laughter replaced by chilling murmurs. Ada tried to bury her guilt beneath jewels and applause, but whispers followed her. At the edge of every mirror, a reflection moved wrong. In crowded theaters, she sometimes swore she saw Ilara, dirty, wild-eyed, standing among the audience, pointing. On the 10th anniversary, Ada's mansion felt colder. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, whispering secrets from corners. That night, her bedroom mirror fogged, and a voice, raspy and wet, whispered, "Time's up, the debt is not paid." Ada screamed as words scrawled across the glass, "Your son for your throne." Her blood ran cold. Tai, her 10-year-old boy, was her joy, the only thing pure in her corrupted world. She fled to the nursery, where she found Tay standing by the window. He pointed into the garden. "Mama, there's a woman in white. She's smiling at me." Ada froze outside. Alara's figure swayed among the trees, her hollow eyes glowing. The days blurred. Tay grew pale and feverish, muttering in his sleep. At night, Ada heard faint lullabies from the nursery, Alara's voice sweet but wrong. Doors slammed, paintings fell, and whispers filled every room. Sacrifice, sacrifice. Desperate, Ada took Ty and ran back to the cottage where it all began. "Spare him," she screamed into the empty darkness. The hooded figure emerged, its voice booming. "The price must be paid, one life for another." Ada fell to her knees. "Take me!" The figure laughed, a sound like cracking bones. "You were never part of the deal." Ty's scream shattered the silence of the cottage, a sound so raw it seemed to pull the walls inward. Ada's heart froze as she spun toward the bedroom. There, in the sickly glow of a dying candle, she saw it. Alara's hand, elongated, inhuman, stretching toward Tay like a serpent seeking prey. The fingers, impossibly thin, scratched at the air, twisting unnaturally as they closed around him. "Alara!" Ada shrieked, stumbling forward. Her sister stood at the foot of the bed, her face gaunt and pale, her once kind eyes now pits of endless black. "Sister," she rasped, her voice dry as cracking leaves. "Come join me." Tay's eyes were wide, unblinking, terror etched across his face. Ada lunged, her scream ricocheting through the cottage. But it was too late. Tay's body shuddered once, twice, then fell limp like a puppet with cut strings. His soul, invisible but somehow tangible, curled in Alara's spectral grasp. Alara's laughter erupted, a sound that scraped against Ada's bones, hollow and endless. Her form flickered like smoke caught in a breeze. "The price," she whispered, cradling Tay's spirit like a broken doll, "is always paid." Then she vanished, dissolving into shadows that slithered into the cracks of the floorboards. Days later, Ada sat in the mansion she had bought with her blood-earned fame. The golden chandeliers glittered overhead, but they brought no warmth. Servants whispered in hushed tones as they found her crouched in the darkened corner of the dining room, rocking back and forth, her lips muttering words that made no sense. "She's become her sister," they murmured. Ada's fame dwindled. Her face, once radiant on magazine covers, faded into memory. Wealth turned to dust in her hands. And still, she wandered, down endless halls that stretched longer than they should, hearing whispers no one else could. At night, she swore she saw Alara's shadow on the walls, fingers curling like claws, reaching for her. And as the clock struck midnight, the echoes of her sins hissed back at her. The price must always be paid. Quick pause. Enjoying the content? Help us reach more people by sharing this video or recommending our channel to a friend. Your support is what makes this channel possible. Story number 3, The Black Sheep's Offering. The village whispered about Toby, the black sheep, they called him. The eldest son of Mama and Ketchy, Toby was nothing like his siblings. While his brothers worked the farm and his sisters earned respect as traders, Toby wandered the streets, gambling, stealing, and scheming. His family avoided him. Only Mama and Ketchy, his aging mother, refused to give up on him. "He's still my son," she'd say, blind to the darkness growing in his heart. But Toby was tired of the whispers that followed him like shadows, tired of the eyes that looked through him, the cruel laughter that echoed when he passed. Useless boy, they called him, shame of the family. His siblings thrived, farmers, traders, and parents, but Toby, he was the black mark on his mother's pride. One fateful evening, as Toby sulked in a smoky tavern corner, a stranger leaned close, his voice low, serpentine. "Do you want to be respected, worshipped?" Toby looked up. The man's gaze was cold, but his words burned hot in Toby's ears. "There's a ritual, a way to gain endless riches." Toby's heart pounded. "What does it cost?" The stranger's smile revealed jagged teeth. "Only the blood of the one who loves you most. The purer the love, the greater the reward." Toby hesitated, but only for a breath. Who else loved him? Who else truly cared, save for his aging mother, Mama Ketchy, who still believed in him? The image of her kind face flashed before him, her voice pleading for him to change. But the promise of gold drowned it out. He nodded. "Tell me what to do." That night, the wind whispered as he made his way home, the knife hidden beneath his tattered shirt. The weight of betrayal sat heavy, but the dreams of power pushed him forward. Mama Ketchy sat by the fire, her back to him, humming softly, unaware that the son she loved had already sold her soul. The darkness swallowed him whole. Toby didn't hesitate. Toby approached, clutching a blade coated with the dark oil the ritual required. "Mama, can you close your eyes? I have a surprise." She smiled, her face soft with love, and did as he asked. The blade rose above her, but just as he struck, Mama Nkechi screamed, her instincts kicking in. The knife grazed her shoulder as she bolted for the door, blood staining her wrapper. Outside, the village erupted into chaos. The piercing cries of Mama Nkechi tore through the night like a blade, shattering the eerie calm. Lanterns sputtered to life, their orange glow dancing on frantic faces as neighbors stormed out of their homes. They found Toby standing there, frozen, his trembling hands glistening with blood that still dripped onto the earth. "Monster!" someone screamed. Others joined in, their curses sharp as stones. Strong hands grabbed Toby, dragging him away, his feet scraping through the dirt as his mother crumpled where she stood, sobbing into her stained hands. As Toby was thrown into a dark, damp cell, the villagers gathered outside to spit his name like poison into the air. He sat in chains, the chill of iron biting into his skin, but the cold was nothing compared to the voice, her voice that refused to leave him. "Why, Toby? I loved you." Night after night, whispers echoed through the darkness of his prison. The guards swore the wind carried a woman's voice, soft and sweet, yet venomous as it lingered in his ear. "You were my son, but I will never forgive you." By day, the villagers shunned his memory. By night, Toby was left to face the one soul he betrayed. And in that cell, where shadows crawled and silence screamed, Toby finally understood. Some chains can never be broken. And in the darkness of his prison, Toby's screams joined the chorus of his sins. Hold on tight, because you're about to enter a world of pure terror. Hit that subscribe button now, and ring the bell if you dare. You wouldn't want to miss these spine-chilling updates. Think you're brave enough? Then go ahead, choose the video on my right, or maybe the one on my left. But beware, these aren't just stories. They're nightmares that will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Not everyone makes it through. So, viewer discretion advised, only the fearless will survive the terror waiting within.